This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Queenpin, Part 8. When we left off, Angela had visited Regina in her hospital room alone and heard about Regina's rescue from Regina's point of view. When she asked Q about his best friend Woody, who helped him with Regina's rescue, he was tight-lipped. When they got back to Angela's room, she looked at Q and said, "You wrote me all those letters, and the first few were about your childhood, but the only things you shared were about your immediate family, your upbringing. It didn't include much about your friends and how you got down in New York City." You said, "Well, some things are not appropriate for written correspondence, especially by mail." Angela said jokingly, "What, you was afraid you was going to incriminate yourself?" When Q didn't respond, she said, "You know all about my life, everything that I've been through, all about my family. Heck, you knew about the Lopez's before I did. But every time I ask you about you, it's crickets." Now, it's clear after talking to the Queen Mother and Regina that there is a lot that I don't know about you. Getting frustrated, Q said, "I just learned about your family from LJ. You know, your best friend who you've known since the second grade, who clearly knew all about your family but didn't think that it was important to tell you about them. He didn't tell me anything about them until you were in Puerto Rico. Now, ask yourself, why do the people who love you keep so much from you?" Angela said, "Ouch, that was a low blow." Q said, "I'm sorry, love. I apologize. This is just really frustrating, okay? You're not the only person that's just learning things that you feel like you should have already known. And I'm not trying to keep anything from you that you need to know. But some stuff you don't need to know. Hell, I just learned today that my parents and your uncle are friends from back in the day." Angela said, "What? The Queen Mother and Pops Andy know Uncle Manny?" Q said, "Yes. When I was a kid, my parents had a very small circle. The only people other than immediate family who were ever around on occasion were their friends from various Caribbean islands. There was the Lopez's from Puerto Rico, the Ramirez's from DR, and the Charleses from St. Lucia. The Charleses are my godparents. Now, I don't remember much because I was young and everybody stopped coming around after my mother went missing and she came back. But I realized today that the Lopez girls who used to run up and down my parents' brownstone steps are your cousins, Miranda and Maribel. What's even crazier is their brother Lorenzo has been working with LJ for years behind the scenes on tough cases from a tech side. And he's the very person who I want to mentor Michael so that he can learn how to hone those tech skills he has." Angela said, "Absolutely not. I do not want the Lopez family to have access to our children like that. I'm not raising gangsters. Now, I don't have a problem dealing with the legitimate members like Maribel and Miranda, and even getting to know my Uncle Manny so I can learn more about my father. But I have no interest in being even remotely connected to the criminal side of that family." Q just stared at his wife. In that moment, he knew that sharing the details of his past and what he did to rescue Regina and bring Angela and the children back home was out of the question. He didn't think his marriage would survive Angela's scrutiny. At that moment, Stephanie entered the room and Q said, "I'm going to go see MomBrenda. I'll be back." When he got to MomBrenda's room, the Queen Mother was exiting. She looked at Q and said, "What's the matter, son?" Q said, "I'm just tired. I'll be all right." "How's she doing?" The Queen Mother said, "About the same." "Son, let me ask you something. Why haven't you told your wife about your past?" Q said, "Oh, come on, Ma. I don't see the point. I'm not interested in rehashing things that happened decades ago. I moved on, and I don't ever want to be that man again. And I don't want my wife to see a killer when she looks at me." Then Q walked away. When he got inside, he fell apart. I said, "MomBrenda, you're going to have to come back to us. We need you. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I did everything in my power to get my wife back. And now it's like it's haunting me. I don't understand why God would send me this woman who's so pure at heart and then put me in positions where I got to make decisions that would taint all that she is. The judgment I see when I look in her eyes, I don't know how to face it. Then he confessed all to a comatose MomBrenda and unburdened his soul. Meanwhile, back in Angela's room, Angela just told Stephanie the little that she's garnered about Q's past. And Stephanie, being Stephanie, encourages Angela to be a little manipulative. She says, just act like you already know, girl. Just tell him that the Queen Mother told you about Killer Q and walk him down, girl. You know how to do that. Angela was like, I don't know if I want to do that, Stephanie. Stephanie said, come on now. How is that any different than giving your man the puppy dog eyes until you get your way? Or pouting and giving him the silent treatment? Angela said, I don't pout and give my man the silent treatment. Stephanie said, well, you should try it because it works every time. You got to outsmart that man, girl, and then he'll tell you everything you want to know. Just dangle a little carrot in front of him. At the door, the Queen Mother overhears this not so good advice and prays that Angela doesn't take heed to it. She enters the room and asks, what you two ladies in here conspiring about? When neither of them are forthcoming, she decides not to press the issue. Instead, she'll keep them all in prayer. The Queen Mother says, well, I wanted to deliver this food for you and Q to have for dinner. It's fresh caught fish and vegetables prepared per Maribel's instructions. I also steeped some tea and made her fruit juice concoction. I'm going to make a final stop to see Regina and then head back to the estate for the night. Angela thanked the Queen Mother and told her that she saved the food for when Q returned from visiting MomBrenda. In Regina's room, the Queen Mother prayed with and for Regina, and then she said, listen, tomorrow your mother and I are coming up here to see you. When Regina protested, she said, listen to me, child. If we don't do this, then how do you think you're going to be able to face your husband and share with him all that you've endured and allow him to begin to help you heal? He can't heal what you don't profess, honey. As we speak, he's having a conversation with my husband and hearing about my abduction from his point of view. When we have this conversation, he'll be ready and prepared to give you all the support that you need and deserve. And your mother and I will be right there with you. Reluctantly, Regina agreed, and the Queen Mother bid her a good night. Late that night, Veronica is in bed sleep when she gets a phone call. She answers the phone groggily, hello. And on the other end is the man that she had the date with the night she was arrested. He said, so you just stood me up and haven't even called me to provide an explanation? Veronica said, oh my goodness, I am so sorry. I have had so much going on. You would not believe what I have been through. He said, well, how about I come over right now and you try me? Or is this a bad time? Do you have your daughter? Veronica said, no, she's with her father, but you can come over. Veronica jumped out of bed, hopped in the shower, threw on one of her sexy pieces and a glueless wig because they made her take her lace front off at the jail. When homeboy rang the doorbell, Veronica was all smiles, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, and he was clearly not in that kind of mood. He came in and said, so let's hear it. Where you been, Veronica? Veronica said, okay, so the thing is, I was at home getting dressed when the cops showed up and arrested me on some bogus charges connected to that whole situation with my ex from a couple of years ago. The man said, and why didn't you call me? Veronica said, well, I was a little busy being arrested and interrogated down at the station. He said, right, but I'm a lawyer. I could have represented you, or at least sent somebody from my firm. Veronica said, oh, my family handled that. They sent a lawyer down. He said, let me guess. Your daughter's father sent one of his family's lawyers down. Veronica said, what? No, I didn't call him, and his family don't have no lawyers. What you talking about? The man said, Veronica, why did I find out that our date was canceled when I saw you doing the perp walk on the news? Veronica said, oh my God, you saw that? He said, of course I did. I'm a damn good lawyer. I watch the news every night. Imagine my surprise when I look up and see my woman parading past the media line, charged with multiple felonies. Veronica said, don't worry, I'm innocent and I have a great lawyer. The man said, I bet you do. I'm sure he's affiliated with your ex's family. Veronica said, what is with all these references to my ex? You ain't never been tripping off him. The man said, because you didn't bother to mention that your ex is affiliated. Veronica said, he's what? The man said, affiliated, as in a member of a crime family. And not just any old run-of-the-mill crime family, but his family is a part of the notorious 5 families. And not just one side of his family, but both sides of his family, Veronica. You don't think that that is something that you should inform a potential suitor of before you get them entangled? Veronica said, I have no idea what you are talking about. The man said, I know good and damn well you are not standing here telling me that you have a child with a member of the Baptiste and St. James crime families, and you don't know anything about them? Are you telling me that you don't find houses burning down, women and children being kidnapped and going missing, and shootouts all over Texas just a little bit odd? Or are you just used to it at this point?